Right, 10 seconds to promote Paddy Power Games. Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games. Advertising. It's easy when you know how. Paddy Power. Enough of the nonsense. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to this Cheltenham ante-postcast. I'm Maddie Plale, joined in the studio by Nick Watson, Anthony Ive and Darren Hughes as well from Paddy Power. This is our final ante-postcast. Very sad times indeed. We're going to have a look back at the big feature races at the Cheltenham Festival. There's been lots of water on the bridge since we last covered them, and also get some special bets in there as well. So nice to have a bit of variation. Guys, first off, we're going to have a look at the Champion Hurdle. Now, Darren, what's the betting like for this? Understandably, Apple's Jade now, we're very thrilled she's going to be going for this race. Lorena, as far as we know, she's going for this race. So how do they bet?
Yeah, so can't split the two at the top of the market here, Maddie. Apple's Jade and Bouverdare are our 15-8 joint favourites. Lorena then is 7-2. Sam Crow is 10s. Sharjah is 10s. Mellon is 12s, Verdana Blue and Brainpower are 14s. Tom Segal's Fancy Esport de Len is confirmed to be going and is a 16-1 shot, and it's 16 spare. Okay,
and Sam Crow, is he going to run in this? Where's he going to go? Is he going to run at all, do we think?
We'll know in about 24 hours' time whether he's running or not. I think he's meant to do a gallop tomorrow, and we'll know after that. I'd say if he goes anywhere, it's going to be the stairs. He's not going to rock up here.
Okay, that's where we start off. What's he then? Apple's Jade, do you think she can do it? Annie Powell, the last mare to win it, of course.
I like Bouverdare. I'm not saying Apple's Jade won't do it. You know, she's obviously got a very good chance. I just think Bouverdare wasn't at his best last season. He pulled it out the fire. He beat Mellon. That form isn't worth a lot. You know, Mellon hasn't done a great deal this season.
The year before, he's stronger, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, but Nicky said he did well to win. He wasn't quite right at the time. He's looked good. I actually think his defeat at Christmas has actually done him a favour because he was getting lower and lower over his hurdles. And while we were lauding him for that, from getting A to B so quick, for me it was only a matter of time before he made one. He did get too low and made one of those errors which he did, and then lost out to Verdana Blue. So it kind of just will have woken him up a little bit, I think. And Apple's Jade will give him a good toe into this race. She ideally probably wants a little bit further than this. She certainly stays much further than this, so I think she'll go off at a decent clip. I think that will help Bouverdare. And I think you might just have too much for her in the finish. But look, you know, it's a split decision. If people fancy Apple's Jade over Bouverdare, I can completely see that as well. It's just a personal thing. I've got a slight preference for Bouverdare, but you know, it's going to be a fantastic race, and it's great that she's going for it.
Yeah, here, I agree with you for what it's worth. I think Bouverdare, he's the one to be on at the prices. Anthony, any thoughts tactically? How do you think it's going to play out?
Well, it depends on if somebody like Charlie Parks. Is Charlie Parks in the race still? I think he might well be.
Not 100% sure.
Just to stick something in to go a clip, but they're going to go a decent pace anyway. I'm with Watsy. I think Bouverdare is, considering he's won 12 of his 14 hurdles, he's beaten by 3 horses in history. I think he's a ridiculous price in that sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple's Jade has been beaten twice over hurdles at Cheltenham already, one by Ivanovic Gorbatov. I think he could be an absolute superstar and history in the making this year. I mean, Isterbrak got beat when he was trying for his third champion hurdle, so I'm not fussed about the Christmas loss, to be fair.
Okay, that's really interesting. Darren, I wonder if you'll agree with me here or not, but I just happen to think Lorena is the most ridiculous price on what she's achieved. It's going to be a whole different ball game. She's very talented, but it'll be interesting to see if she can cope with this sort of change in race.
Yeah, shocking price. Absolutely shocking price. Jesus Christ. If you're taking the 7-2 about her, don't want to offend anybody here, but yeah, I will be polite. I don't want to offend anybody, but lads, there's a million and one better 7. There's a better 7-2 shot run than Southwell today, I'd say. If you're that so inclined, and it pays the exact same amount of money. Just on Bouverdare, I have this little bit of a theory. I think come the day you're going to get 11-4 on him. 5-2, 11-4. I could be wrong, and I'm well open to correction.
Well, the others are still. They've got more sort of progressive profiles coming into it, whereas he's been operating at that level for a while, hasn't he? So you can see the money coming for one of the mares. I
can see Apple's Jade and Lorena being massively overbet on the day, and I think a lot of bookmakers are going to be out to cut the legs out of Bouverdare. And I think I read something from one of the other smaller firms who were saying, if you're not out to get him on the day, you may close your doors. Which and I can kind of see where they're coming from. Do you know what I mean? Because the opposition is probably there that he hasn't had before. But for me, Anthem better than 2-1, 15-8 is a smashing price. He's a 6-4 shot in my book. I think he is the least to prove. The worst runs of Apple's Jade's life have come at Cheltenham, and that's when she was in form and out of form. Lorena has look, if she wins, fair play, but she has way too much to prove at the price.
Yeah.
For me, purely from a betting point of view, Bouvardere is a cracking bet at the price he is.
Wow, so we're all in agreement then, all four of us, brilliant. Verdana Blue, probably worth quickly mentioning her, beat Bouvardere, she was beaten on the all-weather, that wasn't an ideal prep, Darren. Just, is there anything from bigger prices that you can see perhaps getting into it quickly?
That's a lovely pipe opener for Verdana Blue. I wouldn't be too upset. My worry for her is that I think we're going to end up getting the soft side of good to soft, the way things are looking. I mean, we had snow here in Ireland yesterday, and it's fairly chucking down at the moment. I think Cheltenham is giving wet as well. If I had to grab one at a big price, I think either Global Citizen or Espoir de Lane. I really like Global Citizen, and I think, if he sets a decent clip in front, now the only worry is will Applesjade try and go with him, and that would kind of ruin his chance, but he's a horse I have a bit of time for. And Espoir de Lane as well, if it does turn into a bit of a burn-up, that'll be one that'd suit him.
Anything to add, Anthony or Watsy?
Yeah, I think if you fancy Espoir de Lane, then I think Saudier's got to be on the list as well, because I mean they were both running good races, and Espoir de Lane was off the bridle when Saudier fell, and Saudier was going to. I think Saudier was going to win that race quite comfortably, and I think he's 20-1 in this race. And I'd say maybe back in without a favourite or two favourites even at some. I don't think that's what you offer two favourites, do you?
We will do on the day, yeah. Not at the moment, but on the day we definitely will.
Because I can see him being a half decent chance for coming in the top 4 or 5.
Okay, brilliant. Watsy?
No, nothing to add really.
Okay, brilliant. We'll move on to the Betway Queen Mother Champion Chase. Looking like a penalty kick for Altior. Who's going to run against him? Darren, what does the market say?
So yeah, we actually have two markets here. One with just the outright market, and we actually have a non-runner no bet without Altior market that the lads priced up for me. So I'd happily go through them both here, because it's not the best bet in the heat in the world. So first of all, the non-runner no bet regular market is Altior 2-5, Min 9-2, Footpad 6-1, Undeso 8s, So Royale 12s, Fox Norton 16s, Politolog 16s, and Simply Ned is 20-1. And then in the without Altior market, if you give me 2 quick seconds. So Min is even money fav in that. Footpad 15-8, So Royale 4s, Undeso 9-2, Politolog 6s, Lady Buttons 8s, Fox Norton 8s, and it's 12s bar.
And what are the vibes of who's going to turn up from the Mullins stable? Is Min going to take on Altior again?
So again, I was at a preview night with Ruby last week, and what he said is, as often with Ruby, it's often what he doesn't say, but what he said was they know Min can't beat Altior.
Right.
They don't know if Footpad can't beat Altior. Just
Surely
on the,
Min is
yeah.
a far better horse.
Sorry, I'd say Min is definitely £7 to £10 better horse than Footpad. I suppose the only thing is that no matter what, unless barring accident or injury, Min cannot beat Altior under any circumstances, as far as I'm concerned. Whereas with Footpad, there is still the slight question mark if he bounces back to himself. Now, I agree with you completely. That I think Min, and Tom Segala said this as well, without Altior, like you're talking about Min as being a Supreme Novice winner, a Champion Chase winner, and only that he was injured, he'd have won an Arkle as well. So there's one of the greatest horses. The esteem Altior is held in, Min will be held in something similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Look, I don't blame any owner. I wouldn't be rushing to take on Altior, because for me, he's as good a horse as I've seen. Yeah,
and you mentioned sort of how good Min would have been if Altior wouldn't have been around. What about Undeso? He's going to go for the Rhiners, I think, so we'll probably mention him a bit later on, but what a legend of a horse.
Yeah, and proved, for me, his run earlier this year was a career best.
Yep.
I don't care. That's absolutely phenomenal stuff. 11 years of age. They have Arkle skeleton hanging in Dublin Zoo here. I think they should do the same with Undeso to find out what he's made of, because it's not regular horse stuff as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Couldn't knock him, but just unless it really chucks down between now and next Wednesday, I doubt he'll be running.
Yeah, okay, he's likely to go for the Rhino, which he's won before, as I mentioned. Let's talk about Altior then, because we know he's likely to win this barring any accidents, and he's just an absolute superstar, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. You turn the clock back to 12 months ago, I was actually on Min in the Champion Chase, so I quite fancied him, and it's often been said, but turning in, I thought, I've got this. I got the race won. Altior looked to be struggling. He was on the inside. He was being scrubbed along. But Nico de Boinville just pulled him out, turning into the home straight, and he just devoured Min and ate him.
What about the prep he's had? Because there were some people who were worried a bit about his jumping at Ascot. Do you make anything of that?
No, absolutely nothing at all, no. You're absolutely right. He is a superstar. He might well hit a flat spot during the race, because he can race a little bit lazily, but he switches on when he has to. And up the hill, he's just amazing. And, you could see a carbon copy of last year's race in the Min and him going to the last together. and him just proving too strong up the hill. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. I hope that Woody does run footpad in the race. He's last year's Arkle winner. You should have a crack at the Champion Chase the following season. Why not? And just
Altior, he could fall for all we know. He could,
well, look,
have a really bad day.
I just think if you just hand it to him. I know it's easier said than done to actually risk your horse in there. But I think if you got Altior in there with footpad, with Min, with Undersow, I think his victory will just mean a little bit more and cement his status a little bit better, because you've got what's left of the opposition you've got running against him. But if they just melt away, he could just have it more easy than it's probably going to be anyway. Yeah.
And Anthony, anything to add? Altior, he's one of the all-time greats.
I think we're watching a legend. I think we're watching something that's just incredibly special, and it's a honour to watch. I mean, have you ever seen a horse that stays up that hill better than him? I don't think I have. I can't remember a horse that stays up that hill the way he does. Yeah. It's just freakish.
Bodes well if they choose to go further next season.
Yeah, the only thing I would say against him, being numbers man, you go through the horses that have won it back to back, and only Masterminder was the last one in 08 and 09. You have to go back to Viking Flagship, Barnbrook again, Badsworth Boy, Pearly Man, etc. It doesn't happen that often, but how can you back against him in a race like this?
Okay,
just jump in there double quick. The English handicapper sorted out, lads. He's still only rated 175. Now, I know he hasn't run since I last had this rant, but mother of God, will you sort it out, please? This is he's the best horse in training by a country mile. How can you have him stuck on 175?
They can chuck him in the Grand Annual.
Yeah, exactly. But do you know where I'm coming from here? I know it's a pedantic enough point.
I know you're not the only one.
No, it's scandalous. It's just not good enough.
Okay. Well, on that notice, we'll move on to the Ryanair. Go through the betting, Darren.
Sure, yeah. So Altior's old rival Min is our 5-2 favourite here. Footpad is 7-2. Monalee is 9-2. Frodon is 6s. Road to Respect is 7s. Untitled is 7s. Top Notch is 7s. Kenboy and Alboom Photo are 8s. Bell Hill is 10s. Invitation Only is 10s, and it's 11s bar.
Fab. Now, Darren, I know Min's won over a similar trip, but he can be so keen in his races. Would you be worried about the occasion and everything like that? Could he, I don't know, could something stay on past him up the running?
Yeah, just not a stayer for me, Maddie, to be honest with you. And all the evidence would suggest that, he was beaten by Politolog at Aintree last year, lovely flat track, and Politolog is a windy enough old stayer. He won the John Durkin this year, beating Shattered Love, but they crawled around and he just tapped her for toe. The Cheltenham Hill on the Thursday, especially on the old course, or the new course rather, for me that's not going to suit him. He is a classy horse, and sometimes class can see it through, but if they go any sort of a clip here with Monalee, and I think Frodon's actually been rerouted here as well, that's not going to suit Min. And for me, there's nothing wrong with coming second in a Champion Chase, and you shouldn't be just afraid of one horse, because for me he's 7 or 8 pounds clear of the rest of them in the Champion Chase, and that's where I'd have him.
Okay, lots of people sort of looking at Monalee as a horse for this race, stepping back in trip. Does he interest you at all?
Yeah, he does, because I'm convinced he wouldn't stay a Gold Cup trip. I don't think he'd stay 3 mile 2.
He's laughing. I'm keen to
we've had the argument. We've had the argument quite a lot, but I just think he's okay around 3 miles, but I don't see him staying well enough up the hill. And this has got a really interesting shape to it, this race, because we're not sure what's going to run yet. Min might well go for the Champion Chase. Footpad could equally do so as well. But there might be some horses that we thought were going for the Gold Cup that come back into this. Frodon is obviously one. And Road to Respect is interesting as well, because Noel Mead, I read a quote from him today, and he stopped short of declaring Road to Respect for the Gold Cup. That's the preference at the moment, but he did leave the door ajar for Road to Respect.
He said he's going to run in this race as
well. Could well flip them. Tua Permi probably, arguably wants further as well. Troy Town winner earlier in the season, so he could well flip them. They're with the same owner, and a lot will depend on the ground. Road to Respect could be one of those horses that comes back. You might be a doubtful stayer again over a Gold Cup trip that comes back. Monalee is another one. I think this race will suit him very well indeed. He likes to get out front. He's a very, very good jumper normally. He gets into a good rhythm. He did in the Red Mills Chase last time out, won quite comfortably. And I could see him doing that again. I like him. I like the horse. And I'm convinced he doesn't get a Gold Cup trip. So I'd be very disappointed if Henry de Bromhead went that way and didn't go for the Ryanair. And I think he's got the kind of credentials. I could see him doing kind of Ux's Andre when he won the race. He just got into a relentless rhythm out in front and they couldn't get close to him. Undersow is interesting, but I really he was my banker at a meeting last season, and I was really disappointed that conditions were in his favour. He had his favoured ground, you know, in the soft surface, and he couldn't put away Balco de Flo. That for me,
it was a funny race.
I was disappointed with that, and Balco de Flo hasn't done a great deal for the form since then. So maybe it was just a rare kind of not quite top-notch display from Undersow, and obviously he's bounced back since. But you know, like I said, he was my banker last season. He didn't quite get the job done, and you just wonder if younger, fresher legs might just catch up with him.
Okay, Anthony, launch your attack.
Monalee. I love this horse for a start off. I'm a massive fan of Henry de Bromhead's chases. The way he gets them to jump is spectacular at times. People say he's an on-stayer over 3 miles, and yet you go through the races that he's run over 3 miles, and I'll give you a list now. I've got this for the Gold Cup, because I want him to go to the Gold Cup. He's beaten Holston over hurdles. He's been Elegant Escape over hurdles and fences. He's beaten Step Back, who won the 3.5 mile chase at Sandown. He's beat Album Photo. He's beat Presenting Percy. He's beat Ballyoptic, Black Corton, Road to Respect, Bells Hill, Edwolf. It's like, how can he not be staying 3 miles if he's beating these horses over 3 miles?
This is 3 mile too.
I know, I get that. I get it. But he jumps so well, and it's quite an average Gold Cup. And you know, last year's RSA, he got battered by Presenting Percy, but he was in front of everything else by a mile.
Yeah.
I don't get the idea that he's not a 3 mile chaser.
Darren, give us the casting vote on this. Come on.
Yeah.
We're 1-1 at the moment in the studio.
Jesus, I don't know. Frodon. I'm a big fan of Frodon.
Blimey.
I genuinely
have thought that from you.
No, I genuinely am. I think Frodon is class. I got serious abuse. The very, very, very first postcast I ever did, I said I thought Frodon would go okay in a really bad Gold Cup, and I've been taking nothing but stick from it since, from a number of different
right,
people.
the amount of stick we all get.
I don't care really now, to be honest. It doesn't bother me, but I have enjoyed seeing him, you know, come to a bit of fruition this year and really improving. And I like him. I like him, and he's really good around Cheltenham. Bryony's class on him. He's, you know, he can pop out in front. He jumps well. I think he stays better than people give him credit for.
Is he going to the Ryanair or the Gold Cup?
Yeah, interesting. I think Paul's now said it's the Ryanair.
Yeah. Okay.
Word on the street is very secret stuff. I know they're kind of borderline where they're going to go with him, but I think they are now kind of leaning back towards the Ryanair just on the basis that they have Clandazol.
Yeah, I think Paul Nicholls has gone, this is what a Gold Cup looks like, and a Gold Cup horse looks like, and Frodon perhaps isn't it.
Not yet. All in good time.
Okay. Let's move on to the Sun Racing Stayers Hurdle then. Paisley Park, really, really likeable horses. Sort of took all before him this season. Darren, I'm interested in Fahim because it seems like everyone is going to be on him, and what a sight that would be. Yeah, look, I'll run down through the betting and I'll give you the lowdown on Fahim afterwards then. So Paisley Park is our 13-8 favourite. Fahim is now 7-2 from 6s, and he was bigger again before. Apple's Jade is 4-1 on the off chance she rocks up here. Sam Crow's 5s. Super Sunday is 7s. Black Op is 10s. Benny the Do is 12s. Top Notch 12s. Bacardi's 14s. Bristol Demai 14s. Kilbrick and Storm 14s. And it is 16s bar. Golden Fahim.
They are delighted with him down in Willys. He is humming, apparently. He is absolutely lighting the place up. And we have seen serious cash for him over the last week or 10 days. Seemingly they can't see him beat. They think he's back to the Fahim of old, and the trip and the track are going to suit.
Proves he stays this trip, hasn't he?
He stays. Yeah, he stays. He definitely stays. To be honest with you, I think he's more of a stayer than he ever was a 2-miler. He was just that good. He was able to get around it.
Yeah.
Like for me, if you ask me my banker at the meeting, it's Paisley Park. Like I put him up when we covered the race at, I think it was 11 or 12-1 earlier on in the year. I think he is potentially like class. I think he reminds me of Thistlecrack, except he's actually good. But like Jesus, there's 2 horses I don't want to see show up here against Paisley Park, and that's Fahim and Sam Crow, because they're 2 that would make me nervous. I'm not afraid of anything else in the race. I don't think any of them are any good, but the vibes coming from Willys regarding Fahim are extremely strong.
Yeah, and thank God he's still with us after that fall last time, which, I had my heart in my mouth for a second there behind Apple's Jade. Would he have got anywhere nearer? Maybe, who knows? But interesting nevertheless. What a sight that would be. Fahim storming clear in the Stayers Hurdle. I'd love that, wouldn't you?
I think Matt Chapman would like it most, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Just talking about him already.
Fancy him?
I can see it, definitely. I've had to kind of think again in this race because I've been, keen on Penhill all winter. Obviously, that's missing the race now, so I had to kind of think twice about it. I probably would be with Darren and side with Paisley Park. He really surprised me this season. I fancied him quietly to run a big race in the Albert Bartlett last season, and he was awful. And I thought, well, maybe just got the horse wrong. But and he started off in a handicap at Aintree and won that, and he's just gone from strength to strength. And I like what he finds off the bridle. These kind of staying races, I like it when a horse like him, what he finds at the finish of these. He often, 3/4 of the way through the race might not be going better than some of the others, but the end product from the last to the line is always really, really strong. And he proved that Cheltenham's, no issue for him last time out. So, ticks loads of boxes. And, we're talking about Lauder as being the kind of fairy tale result at Cheltenham. Of course, it would be, but this would be as well for Andrew Gamble, who owns him, who's obviously blind as well. So this would be a fantastic result too.
It would, yeah. I've bigged up Fahim, but also great for Emma Lavelle and Aidan Coleman and Andrew Gamble as well to have a big winner. Anthony,
I think he's a horrible price. I'm sorry.
Just after I did my lovely little spiel.
Yeah, I know. You can't go. To be fair, he's been really tough this season. He's improved all through the season, but he got stuffed out of sight in the Albert Bartlett last year, and he's beaten West Approach twice. I mean, West Approach is 1 from 15 over hurdles, and he's 15 to 8, 13 to 8 for the stays. 13 to 8 to stay as hurdle. I can't be backing that. I can't be having that at all.
You mentioned that, sorry, just to jump in, you mentioned the Albert Bartlett. I actually think Kilbrick and Storm, he's a horse that I really love. I think he could go well at big pricing.
He probably runs about 17 miles though, doesn't he?
Ouch.
He's clearly good. Probably
a bit of rain.
He's talented, but he does what he's probably going to be a national horse at some stage. Yeah. That's the type of profile I see.
I think this race could be a bit more open than maybe it's looking.
I would love to see Fahim win this. I can't be backing him at the price, but I would love to see him win it. Super Sunday should be running in this after coming second to Penhill last year. Based on that, he'd have a great chance. Bapome run a cracker behind Presenting Percy. If you want something that's a completely out there left field selection, and I brought this up with Watsy the other day, Palisator is in this, right? Yeah, I know. That noise was like
there's left field.
Yeah, but he's really quite interesting over hurdles. He beat Dunvegan by an absolute mile, and Dunvegan's quite for the Albert Bartlett. He's beaten Jets, Scarpetta, blow by blow, Duke de Geneva over hurdles, and he was sent off 11 to 4 fav with Getterbird at Punchestown, and he won a Royal Ascot over the summer, and then bombed out in the Curragh Cup. And he's 40 to 1 in the race, and I might have a nibble on that each way, because if he turns up, he's 107 on the flat. He might be a price if you fancy something that's not going to be short.
Okay, that's very interesting. Darren, anything quickly to add before we move on to the Cheltenham Gold Cup?
Nothing massive, no. Just big fan of Paisley Park, and I am on a decent price, so I'd love to see him do the business.
So the feature of the whole meeting is the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Clanders Oba, I believe, has come in for quite a lot of support in recent days. How do they bet now, Darren?
Yeah, so Paul Nicholls' comments have caused a swell of support for Clanders Obo, and he is now a 7-2 joint favourite with Presenting Percy from 5s. Native River then is 11-2. Kenboy is 9s. Bell's Hill is 10s. Might Bite is 10s from 16s, again after some positive trainer comments lately. Album Photo is 12s. Thistlecrack is 14s. Annabelle Fly, Tom Segal selection, is 16s from 40s earlier on in the year. Frodon is 16s, Monalee is 16s, and it is 20s bar.
Fabulous. Let's start off with Presenting Percy then. Had a spin round Galway, interestingly. Not yet run over fences this season. Watsy, would that worry you?
No, not really. I mean, the trainer's unorthodox, but he was unorthodox last season, took a really uncharted route to the RSA, but it didn't stop him winning the RSA, and he won it easily. So I'm sure he just got his eye in, at Galway last time out, so that doesn't really bother me at all. He could easily win it. I'm looking at something at a slightly bigger price myself, but would I be surprised if Presenting Percy won? No, not at all.
Okay, and what do you think, Anthony?
I'm the same. I think he's the best horse in this race as a chaser. The concern is that he hasn't seen a fence in 12 months on a proper, in a proper race.
Yeah.
But the hurdle win was actually quite impressive. I thought he was really good that day after so long off. And
he'd win the Stays, wouldn't he?
He would by a mile.
Yeah.
And in terms of price, was he 7-2? Yeah. I can't find 3 or 4 horses to beat him. That's the problem I'm having. I keep looking at this market and trying to find something to beat him, and I'm struggling.
Yeah. Yeah, you're struggling. Okay, Darren, Presenting Percy has sort of got this reputation now as Ireland's people's horse. I'm sure, it'd be a great scenes for many in Ireland if he were to win.
Yeah, he's certainly not mine anyway. I'm going to pour a bit of cold water here.
Go for it. We love
which
that.
I don't normally do with the Irish horses. I normally defend them to my dying breath. But I don't see how you can possibly not be very, very concerned about him not having a spin over fences. Like, I don't care who trains it. Right, fair enough, Pat Kelly has had a great Cheltenham record in recent years. In the years before that, he only trained 8 winners in 11 years. Like, he wasn't a genius then. Nobody's going around saying Pat Kelly's a genius at that stage. Look, sure, he's a nice guy and I'm sure he knows what he's doing. But I think you have to be concerned about the fact he hasn't had to spin over hurdles. As well as that, then, the only time Presenting Percy has run against open company over fences outside a handicap company.
Duke beat him, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was getting £7 that day. Yeah, no, look, fair enough, it was 2.5 miles, yeah, but like...
You didn't sort of look at the race though and think, if that was 3 miles Presenting Percy,
he was going to win.
Did you? Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, Shire Duke was as slow as an old boat as well. He was an Irish national winner. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you know what? You have to take it into context here. For me, he's just not a rotten price. Like, he's after drifting a little bit. And personally, I think you could get 9-2, 5-1 on the day very easily, because I think Clanda's Oboe is going to be the overbet horse. If you're getting that price in the day, is he an each way shout? Yes. For me, I can't have him. I was massively against him last year. I laid him to a few people for the RSA last year and paid for that. But I don't know. Not for me at this stage.
And I mean, Paul Nicholls, he's been there and done it in Gold Cups. Clanda's Oboe, he's really brought him to the boil this season. I sense he's even surprised him in recent weeks with how the confidence is growing behind him. He was impressive last time. Darren, would he be your selection, or would you be looking at something at a bigger price?
I actually do fancy one at a bigger price, but when we covered the Gold Cup earlier on the year, this is my selection. He was whatever price he was at that stage. Like, he's just improved beyond all recognition this year. And, while you can be cynical about that improvement, I think there's enough there to back it up. Do you know what I mean? There's enough there's enough firmness to the form to back it up. I'm a massive fan of him. He jumps brilliantly. He travels brilliantly. The one small
Cheltenham
concern...
form.
Yeah, that is obviously a huge concern. And as well, is he an out-and-out stayer? I don't know. And does he do anything in front? Probably not either. So he's going to be a tricky-ish ride for Harry Cobden, but that young lad knows what he's at, so that wouldn't concern me.
Okay. What do you make of the others down the betting? Kemboy, Bells Hill, horses like that, they seem to be reaching their peak. Anthony, I'll go to you next.
Kemboy, I have a bit of an issue with Vadanor horses over 3 miles, side by Vadanor. Like, you go through the list, and I was looking at this probably 12 months ago, so it might be a bit more up to date than over the last 12 months. But like, you go through the list of the horses that have tried 3 miles, they just don't get there. I think obviously he won the Lexus. Sorry, it's not the Lexus.
Savills Chase.
That's the one. And he got a soft lead that day. It was sort of handed to him a little bit. And he, fair play, he stayed the 3 miles there, but I would have a concern over the 3 mile too. It is, and especially undulated track like Cheltenham. I would be having an issue with that. Bells Hill is a really likeable horse, and I know you love him, didn't you? You fancy him a lot. He's come third to Mike Byte in the RSA, 0 from 3 over at Cheltenham over fences, I think, or over hurdles and fences. So that would be the concern for me there. Do you want to talk about Bells Hill? Because I know you love him.
Go for it.
Yeah, as Anthony said, there's 2 ways of looking at Bells Hill. He's 0 from 3 at the festival, which instantly would put you off. But there is another way of looking at it. The first of those was in the bumper, when he finished mid-division, wasn't disgraced, obviously didn't win, but it's a very, very hard race to win the bumper for young horses. I'd forgive him that. The next race, he ran in Altior's Supreme Novices Hurdle. Now, what we know about Bells Hill now is that he obviously didn't have a prayer and he was in the wrong race. He should never have been running against Altior. That was a very, very high-class Supreme field. Finished down the field. in hindsight, not surprised by that. The last run was much better. He finished third in the RSA behind Might Bite and Whisper in that really mad finish between the two of them.
Ruby Walsh thought he had Might Bite covered for most of that race, he said.
Well, and I think the point about that run is that it came on the back of a really, really bad fall at Leopardstown where he fell at the last, and it was a real cruncher. And I was surprised that Connections even ran him in the RSA. So for him to run as encouragingly as he did, I'm taking that as a positive. I just think the horse has come of age. I mean, he was good in the Bobby Joe last year. He was running all over them in the Irish National off top weight, and he looked like hosing up in that. Something weird happened at the last. There's a guy in a fluorescent jacket. Apparently, something put him off, spooked him, and he took out half the field. But he still only got beaten about half a length at the finish. And then a couple of weeks after that, he won a Grade 1. So he's obviously tough. And I just think there's been a method to how Woody's trained him this season, because he was quite prominent in the betting for the King George at Kempton at Christmas, which he could have conceivably gone for. But Woody's given him 2 runs at Leopardstown, and I'm sure that's just to convince himself and for Connections to convince themselves that he does go left-handed. Obviously won a Grade 1 last time out, beating Road to Respect. Okay, so, there's a lot of withdrawals on the day because of the ground. But I think that's a plus with Bellshill, because he handles anything. If it's soft and testing, he will cope with that and he will stay. If it's good, he won't mind that either. And I just think the evidence is that the horse has come of age, and I think he's won 5 or 6 Grade 1s now over in bumpers, over hurdles, over fences. He's done it left and right-handed. He's 9 years of age. He's coming into this race in the peak of condition, and I think he's got a great chance. And I think just ignore those first 2 runs at Cheltenham because they weren't the right races for him.
And his trainers never won the race. Anyway, before we move on, I want to give a mention to Native River, because he won the race last year. And as you mentioned at the top of this sort of segment, Darren, Might Bite has been coming for money slightly after a positive bulletin from Nicky Henderson. What do you make of one of those two hitting the frame?
Yeah, do you know something? I'm going to end up back in Might Bite, I'd say, and I'm going to kick myself for it.
You don't like your money?
No, I don't. I actually don't. Do you know? I love a fucking good a story. That's all I like. Do you know? I don't care about the money side of it. I'm actually over there at Gold Cup Day, and I know I'm just going to back him for the crack. I already have a bet in the race in the shape of Shattered Love, who I think.
Run?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Definitely going to run.
I quite like her.
I think what she needs is an attritional test. It's just something like how she got in the JLT last year. They went off hard and the ground was rotten. I think the harder they go and the further they go, the better. Like she's a mare that could end up running a Grand National, to be honest, which I think anyhow. And Gordon, every time you ask Gordon, all he has is positive things to say about her. Like, if you look at her form this year, right? They crawled around Down Royal, she's beaten over 2 miles 3 by Snow Falcon, that's not bad form. They crawled around Punchestown in the John Durkin 2.5 miles, beaten by Min, who is a quick horse. That race in Leopardstown at Christmas that Kenboy won. Kenboy didn't win a 3-mile chase that day. He won a 1-mile sprint. They crawled around and he just quickened away from the front when they were turning for home. Like that form from.
I think I backed her then and just nothing went right, did it?
No, she came 10th. Like she was trapped wide the whole way. Made a bad mistake at the wrong time, and she just tapped for toe. Like they go quick in a Gold Cup, and that's what she needs. She'd be the one for me at a price. I think 25 is more than generous.
So that's it for our review of the big races at the Cheltenham Festival. And if you haven't already, get your hands on one of these guides. It's now available in all good newsagents and online at racingpost.com/shop. Plenty of good analysis in here and race-by-race guides too. So get your hands on one of these before it's too late.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log into your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to this Cheltenham Ante-Postcast. Now it's time for our Cheltenham Festival special bets section. First off, let's start with the top jockey. How did Paddy Power bet on this one, Darren?
Yeah, so naturally enough, we obviously have Ruby in as our favourite for this. He's generally does go and win it every year, so he's our 5-2 favourite, which is a bigger price than he would be most years. Barry Geraghty is 10-3, Jack Kennedy's 9-2, as is Davy Russell. Paul Townend is 10s, Nico de Boinville is 10s, and it is 12s bar.
I quite like the sound about Davy Russell 9-2. He always rides Cheltenham really well, doesn't he? Any thoughts on this? Would you be getting stuck into one?
generally something I'd part with cash now on, which is highly unusual for me. But if I had to pick one at a price, Mark Walsh is in there at 12-1, and I'd say he'll get access to a few more JPs than people might think, because it's a strange enough riding arrangement there at the moment. I don't think anyone fully knows what's going on. He could have a few interesting ones definitely in the handicaps as well.
Yeah, and you say that, I mean, obviously Cheltenham is Ruby Walsh's playground, but Willie's sort of made it clear that he wants Paul Townend to win the championship this season, so he's, bound to get plenty of rides as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd say Ruby will still get first pick on any of them at Cheltenham, given that it won't affect the Irish Championship. But Ruby has kind of gone away from riding in handicaps and stuff over the last few years. He's become very selective to extend his career, which you can fully understand. So he is, as I said, 5-2 is a bigger price. And what you have to remember about Ruby is he won't get any outside rides.
Yeah.
Or he won't take any outside rides. Not that he won't get them. He won't take any outside rides. It'll be Willie and Willie only. Whereas Mark Walsh and Barry and the rest of them will have access to all the JPs and maybe a couple of extra ones as well. So.
Yeah, that's true. Watsy, who's your favourite jockey to follow around Cheltenham?
God, I don't know about. I was listening to the odds then and wondering if I could work an angle, but I'm not sure there is one really. I mean, if you go for Nico de Boinville at 10-1, I think Darren said, you pretty much know that he's 1-0 up on the rest of the jockeys already because he rides Altior. So, that's something. But I mean, that's, I used to do that with Tom Quealy at big meetings when he rode Frankel, because he always used to give you, one on the board guaranteed. And obviously he's going to ride a lot for Henderson, and Henderson, I know he's been held up a bit by the flu, but he's going to be throwing a lot of arrows and good arrows as well. So, de Boinville is 1-0 up pretty much on all the rest of them.
He's 2-0 up. He has Angel's Breath as well.
Oh, there we go. He's 2-0 up. So if he's got 2 in the bag already, he might only need to get a couple more to win it. So 10-1, he might be interesting. That's about as much as I could come up with on that.
Anthony?
I was thinking exactly the same. I think it's a pretty fair market. Nico probably looks one stands out there.
Yeah. Okay, let's try top training then. Paul Nicholls, quite a few people have been putting cash on him following this illustrious period, haven't they, Darren?
Yeah, he's still 10-1 shot. So we've Gordon as our 5-4 favourite. Nicky is 6-4. Willie Mullins is 10-3. Paul is 10s, which does look big. Joseph O'Brien then is 20s, and it's whatever you like after that.
The thing with Paul is obviously he's been mopping up these races on the Saturdays, but the Cheltenham Festival is a different ball game, isn't he? And I think lots of trainers have got maybe more ammunition. He's obviously got Clanderzobo and horses like that, but who knows? What's he? Top trainer?
I wouldn't go beyond the obvious here. I mean, it kind of got monotonous a bit last year with you see Gigginstown horses coming into the winners' enclosure, winning race after race, and obviously they bring a huge contingent over. Gordon Elliott trains, a vast amount of those. So, and he's 5-4 favourite for a reason. I wouldn't be looking beyond the obvious. And it's a good point you make about Nicholls. He's brilliant at placing his horses. So these weekend handicaps, which are obviously valuable in their own right, showed again last weekend how good he is at doing that. But again, the Cheltenham Festival is another level up.
Yeah. Anthony, anything to add?
I was just thinking, I mean, when was the last time? If you go back 3 or 4 years, would you have said that Willie Mullins would be 100 to 30 for top trainer at Cheltenham anytime soon? You'd be like, you think it's a
smallest ever team, I think, he's sending over this year, or at least for a good couple of years anyway.
It hasn't been a brilliant season for him. He's from by his standards, which are very, very high. It's been pretty average. But yeah, I'd say that, I think Gordon Elliott probably wins it, to be fair.
Okay, and what about top owner? What's he mentioned? Gigginstown House stood there, bound to be towards the top of the list, Darren.
Yes, we actually only have 2 priced up at the moment, Maddie. It's JP v Gigginstown. It's 2-5 JP, 13-8 Gigginstown. Like, if you look at past years, like Rich Ritchie doesn't have the same influence as he used to have. The Roonies have only recently called off their boycott of Cheltenham, so God only knows what their team is like. Isaac Munir, Simon Munir and Isaac Swade, like they haven't just got the firepower for it. I think it is a 2-horse race. At the prices, I'm not going to have a bet either way. Gun to my head, because of the bigger price, I'd say Gigginstown, but not in any way confident.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'll probably agree with you on that one. With Gigginstown, lads in agreement? I
think JP's probably got the best armour. Army is a bit of a difference. I was thinking about what's he then. Best army of horses he's had for a long, long time, and he's look at the favourites he's got. I'd say JP's probably going to win it.
Okay, thoughts?
I'd go Gigginstown 13-8, definitely. I think there's too big a differential there.
Yeah, I'd be in agreement. Darren, just run us through the other specials that you've got.
Yes, just a couple of them here we've added in. A 5-year-old to win the Coral Cup after Anthony's impassioned plea yesterday and how well they do in it. That's 11-8. Joseph O'Brien, big up-and-coming trainer, to train 3 or more winners is 11-4. Nicky Henderson and JP, that illustrious partnership, they're 9-4 to be top trainer, top owner double. And then a bit of a funny one, the Rooneys to own a winner at Cheltenham is 7-4.
Okay, and what would be catching your eye out of any of them?
Out of those, I suppose the Henderson JP one, like, it's a related bet, but that would look tasty. Like, if Nicky's winning the top of the trainers, JP is probably going to be top owner as well. 5-year-old to win the Coral Cup, 11-8. Not much juice in that, I wouldn't say. Joseph O'Brien, 3 or more winners is potentially interesting, because we talk about being 1-0 up.
Out.
Yeah, that would have, like, if Larisburg was in this, that's a 6-4 shot. You know what I mean? Because he's a massive influence on it. But we're talking about being 1-0 up. You can nearly say Joseph is 1-0 up with the Triumph, whichever one of his wins it. So he only has 2 to go from there.
Yeah, that's very true. Very valid point. Any thoughts on those specials, Watsy?
No, not really. I think I've given the one star. I like Nico de Boinville at 10s, Gigginstown top owner. Yeah, I think that'll do me.
Okay, Anthony, any?
I think Joseph. No, not really. I think Joseph O'Brien is. I'd be interested at 11-4. I don't think that's a bad price for. He's got some decent handicaps as well. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, Darren, the cup that everyone cares most about, the Pressbury Cup. Come on, what are the odds?
Yeah, so I'm going to be shot for saying this, but I actually kind of fancy England this year. Well, we have a little bit more even. So Ireland are 4-5, Great Britain are 5-4, and the tie is 7s. Great Britain are as big as 7-4 out there. I make that to be a bet, lads. I don't know. I think we have a price right. I think 4-5, 5-4 a piece with the tie at 7s is fair enough. I'd probably even have it evens a piece in the tie 7s. Yeah, I don't know. I just think Ireland, we haven't got the same firepower this year as we had. We have a few windy-ish looking favourites. Like, you're talking about some of our shorter price ones. Presenting Percy M against him, Apples Jadam against her, Lorena M against her, and Min again is coming up against Altior. So a few of our leading lights are up against it. And look, we'd probably mop up the handicaps as we usually do. But I don't know. Yeah, I'd say England are a big enough outpricer. Great Britain, I should say, at 7-4 elsewhere. But whatever takes your fancy here, I suppose.
Any thoughts? Hopefully we can have a bit of a stronger, be a bit of a stronger.
Oh no, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Like, Jesus, no, I don't want you to win it or anything. I just think he's a bet.
Typical. Well, I'm saying hopefully to you two anyway. I think we've got a better chance than in recent years, haven't we? It looks that way, Anthony.
Yeah, there's a few horses in there, British horses that have got a chance. Supreme and the like. That this sort of market doesn't really tickle my fancy, if I'm honest. But yeah, Britain's got a chance with a few bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah. Okay, so we've come to the end of our final anti-postcast show. Now it's time for the moment of truth. We want your Cheltenham nap.
This will not be beaten.
Darren Hughes, who's your best bet of the festival?
Right, how long have you got? This is a race we didn't get round to cover. My nap at the whole festival is not what I am in the Pertemps. So a bit of backstory on this lad. He was with Adrian Keatley and over in Ireland for a while with Richie Rath. He was with Robbie McNamara, and he finally found himself over in England with Dan Skelton, and he's just improved inside out since. So he won a race at Uttoxeter to start off with. He was sent off short enough, naturally enough, and he only won by a head, but he gave a stone to the second place, and all he did was idle in front. He came there completely on the snaff. So after that, then he went to Cheltenham and he fell 3 out when coming to win his race. I don't care what anyone says, he was winning that day. Went to Uttoxeter then and beat Olanda Bloom, which is obviously decent form. It's worked out all right. But what's really caught my eye is his latest run at Warwick. So he was out the back in a Pertemps trial the whole way. He was still last turning for home in a very, very, very slowly run race. Like the first and second led the whole way. Warwick is a sharp enough track. It's not that long of a run in. The way he finished out his race there makes me think that a stiffer track and a stronger pace is going to suit. It's worked out perfectly. He's left on a mark of 1:35, which gets him in off a lovely racing weight. The more I go back to this race, the more convinced I am this has been the plan for him and that he wins. I'd say this is my main bet the whole festival. I've been tipping away at him all winter, and I'm going to have him a little bit more on as well. Love him.
Okay, brilliant. Dan Skelton, we know he has what it takes to win on these Cheltenham handicaps. Who's your best bet at the festival?
Yeah, I'm going to go for the 4-miler, Ballyward, Willie Mullins' horse. Been impressed with him over fences this season. Just got touched off first time out on New Year's Eve. Made amends last time. I think it was at Nace. Won quite nicely. He reckons Discorama would have given him a race. I think Ballyward would have won whatever if Discorama had stood up. They're going to meet again in the 4-miler, so we'll find out. But he's jumped really, really well. He ran well in the Albert Bartlett last season. I think he was 4th, and yeah, okay, it was he was a little bit off OK Corral there, who looks like being favourite for this race, and Derek O'Connor rides. I actually think OK Corral would have a good chance in the RSA if they made a late switch. I'm not convinced he wants 4 miles. I think Ballyward does. I think he's a very strong stayer. His jumping has been very sound so far. And Willie Mullins and Patrick Mullins, they won the race last year with Rathfinden. I think they could do it again.
Yeah, okay. It's good fun having you two on these podcasts together because I can sort of pitch you against each other. Fight. Who's your nap?
So mine's Discorama. No, it's not. There's a horse called Expatriate for Elmarie Holden that ran in the 2017 Triumph, came 4th for, behind Defi de Searle. He was stayed over hurdles last year, and he beat Discorama, who came second in the Martin Pipe. This lad is a really, really good horse. I mean, I really like this lad. He ended up bombing out towards the end of last season, missed the festival. He wasn't quite right, and he's gone chasing this year. He went over 2.5 the first 2 times, ran in some decent races. He needed a run. He clearly wasn't fit, and then he hosed up over. Well, he didn't hose up. He won over 2 miles. He's off a mark of 142 over fences, 145 over hurdles. He's probably going to go to the novice handicap chase, and I like this lad a lot. So whichever race he goes to, he's in the Martin Pipe and the Coral Cup as well. So he might go back over hurdles, but wherever he turns up, I'm backing him each way. He's going to be a big price.
Strong words. Thanks for that, Anthony. That brings us to the end of the show and our final anti-postcast. But we will be planning to do some more ahead of the big summer meets, so keep your eye out for those. And of course, Bruce will be back on Friday to cover the weekend's action. Hope you have a profitable weekend and indeed a profitable Cheltenham Festival, and we'll see you soon.
Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.